Chapter 3 Immortal's Third Ascension to Godhood. A once-respected master is now a total joke. No incense, no temples. Feng Xin went quiet, and it was a total buzzkill. Xi Lian, feeling a bit awkward, said, "Didn't mean to cause a fuss. Sorry." Mu Qing, cool as ever, shot back, "Just a coincidence, huh?" But Xi Lian thought it was way too coincidental that the clock fell on Mu Qing while he was messing with Feng Xin's palace. He shrugged and said, "I'll cover everyone's losses, just need a bit of time." Mu Qing was itching to throw more sarcastic digs, but with his golden palace intact and the clock mishap, he decided to chill. Once things calmed down, Xi Lian made a quick exit, still stressing about how to gather those 8,880,000 merits he needed by tomorrow when Ling Wen invited him to her palace. Ling Wen was the heavenly official in charge of managing heaven's personnel. Mortals prayed to her for career boosts. The palace hall was packed with official documents. It was a wild sight. As Xi Lian walked in, he saw heavenly officials leaving, struggling under massive stacks of paperwork, looking pale and completely drained. Ling Wen jumped right in. "Your Highness, the Emperor needs your help. Will you lend a hand?" In heaven, everyone had fancy titles, but only one was the Emperor. Xi Lian blinked, surprised. "What's going on?" he asked. In heaven, everyone had fancy titles, but only one was the Emperor. Xi Lian blinked, surprised. "What's going on?" he asked. Ling Wen handed him a scroll and said, "There's a wave of worshippers in the north praying for blessings. They're really struggling. Most of them are just rich folks throwing cash at temples, with only a few genuinely devoted believers in the mix. It's mostly about the money, you know. The Emperor can't head north right now. If you want his spot, all the offerings from these eager worshippers will go to you later. What do you think?" Xi Lian took the scroll, saying, "Thanks a lot." He knew Junwu was helping but wasn't fooled by the act. Ling Wen said, "I'm just here to help. What do you think?" Xi Lian took the scroll, saying, "Thanks a lot." He knew Junwu was helping but wasn't fooled by the act. Ling Wen said, "I'm just here to help. If you want to thank someone, wait for the Emperor. Need a magical artifact?" Xi Lian shook his head. "No thanks. I lost my powers after getting knocked down twice. Up in heaven, there's tons of spiritual energy, but in the mortal realm, I'll need to borrow some." "What a hassle." Ling Wen thought for a moment and suggested, "Maybe you should borrow a few martial gods to help you out." Xi Lian knew that the current martial gods either didn't he recognize him or didn't he like him. He replied, "Yeah, that won't work. You won't be able to borrow anyone." He replied, "Yeah, that won't work. You won't be able to borrow anyone." But Ling Wen seemed determined and said, "I'll give it a shot." Xi Lian didn't think it would make a difference, but he let her try. Ling Wen stepped into the spirit communication array and called out cheerfully, "Hey everyone, the Emperor has an important task in the north and needs some help. Which martial god can lend out 2 officials from their palace halls?" "Hey, I heard the Emperor's not in the north right now, so you must be looking for help for the Crown Prince," Mu Qing chimed in. Xi Lian thought, "Seriously, are you just hanging around the spirit communication array all day?" "Hey, I heard the Emperor's not in the north right now, so you must be looking for help for the Crown Prince," Mu Qing chimed in. Xi Lian thought, "Seriously, are you just hanging around the spirit communication array all day?" Ling Wen felt the same way and wanted to tell Mu Qing off for messing up her plans, but kept it light. "Xuan Zhen, why are you always popping up in the array? Looks like you're slacking off a bit." Mu Qing shrugged, saying, "I'm just taking it easy with my hand injury." Everyone thought, "Seriously? Your hand used to split mountains." Ling Wen wanted to trick some gods into helping, but Mu Qing saw right through it and spilled the beans. No one was stepping up to help her, and Xi Lian smirked. "Told you it wouldn't work." Ling Wen shot back. "If Xuan Zhen hadn't said anything, I might have actually gotten someone." Xi Lian chuckled. "You were trying to play it cool, like you were carrying a pipa but hiding half of it, making it all sound a bit mysterious. People would have thought they were signing up to help the Emperor, but once they found out they'd be working with me, they'd bail. I'm used to flying solo anyway, and I'm not missing any limbs, so I'll manage just fine. Thanks for your help, but I'll be on my way now." Ling Wen, feeling a bit defeated, saluted him and said, "All right then. Thanks for your help, but I'll be on my way now." Ling Wen, feeling a bit defeated, saluted him and said, "All right then. I wish you a smooth journey, and may the blessings of the heavens officials be with you." Zhelian replied, "All taboos are off," and waved goodbye as he left, feeling confident and carefree. 3 days later, in the north of the mortal realm, there was a quaint little tea house by the roadside. It wasn't big, and the owners were just simple folks, but the prices were steep because the views were stunning. You had mountains, rivers, and a bustling little city all in one spot. If you stumbled upon this tea house, it would definitely make for a memorable experience. The tea sommelier was pretty bored since there were no customers around. He pulled up a small stool outside and started soaking in the scenery. While he was enjoying the view, he spotted a dusty Taoist in white approaching. The guy looked like he'd been on the road forever. He walked right past the tea house, but then suddenly stopped, turned around, and came back. Lifting his bamboo hat, he smiled and said, "Chance Encounter, little store. What a neat name." Even though the Taoist looked worn out, his smile was infectious, making it hard for anyone to resist smiling back. Lifting his bamboo hat, he smiled and said, "Chance Encounter, little store. What a neat name." Even though the Taoist looked worn out, his smile was infectious, making it hard for anyone to resist smiling back. He asked, "Excuse me, is Mount Yu Jun nearby?" The tea sommelier pointed him in the right direction and replied, "Yeah, it's around here somewhere." Zhelian took a deep breath, feeling a wave of relief. "I finally arrived," he thought, and for once he didn't feel like he was leaving a piece of himself behind. He'd left the immortal city, aiming for Mount Yu Jun. But guess what? As he jumped down, his sleeve snagged on a cloud. Seriously, a cloud! After tumbling around at a crazy height, he had no idea where he landed. 3 days of walking later, he finally reached his destination, and let me tell you, he was feeling all kinds of emotions. Stepping into a tea house, Zhi Lian chose a cozy spot by the window and ordered some tea and snacks. Just as he settled in, he was jolted by the sound of wailing and drums coming from outside. Curious, he peered out and saw a strange procession. A group of people of all ages was escorting a bright red marriage sedan, but something felt off. At first glance, they looked like they were delivering a bride, but their faces were anything but joyful. Instead, they wore solemn expressions: grief, anger, dread, definitely not the vibe you'd expect at a wedding. Everyone was decked out in red flowers, playing wind instruments and banging drums. It was such a bizarre scene. The tea sommelier just shook his head and moved on. Zhelian couldn't help but stare, totally puzzled. Just as he was about to check the scroll from Ling Wen, something shiny caught his eye. A silver butterfly zipped by, shimmering in the sunlight. Ye Lian reached out, and to his surprise, it landed on his fingertips, its wings sparkling. It felt like a dream. But just like that, it flew away, leaving him with a bittersweet wave goodbye. He turned back to his table and was surprised to see 2 teenage boys sitting there. One was tall and handsome, while the other looked delicate and cold. Neither seemed too excited to be there. Zhelian blinked and asked, "You two are—" The guy on the left replied, "Nan Feng." The one on the right added, "Fu Yao." Zhelian thought, "Not that I'm asking for your names or anything." Just then, Ling Wen's voice echoed in his mind. "Your Highness." Just then, Ling Wen's voice echoed in his mind. "Your Highness, 2 small martial gods from Middle Heaven are here to help. They should have arrived by now." Middle Heaven? In Middle Heaven, the deities are more like deputies. They're solid, just haven't faced their big test yet. Jilian often wondered if there was a lower heaven. Apparently, there was, but it flopped. Can you imagine saying, "I'm from lower heaven"? Not exactly a confidence booster, right? So they switched it to Middle Heaven, which sounds way better. They're solid, just haven't faced their big test yet. Jilian often wondered if there was a lower heaven. Apparently there was, but it flopped. Can you imagine saying, "I'm from lower heaven"? Not exactly a confidence booster, right? So they switched it to Middle Heaven, which sounds way better. The 2 boys didn't look too keen to help. "Ling Wen, are they really here to help me or just to drag me back?" he wondered, feeling drained and distant from the immortal city. With no other options, Xie Lian forced a smile and said, "Thanks for coming to help me, Nanfeng and Fu Yao." They just nodded, looking a bit too proud for his liking. He called over the tea sommelier and ordered 2 more cups. "So, which palace do you 2 belong to?" he asked casually. Nanfeng replied, "Nanyang Palace Hall." Fu Yao added, "Zhuanzhen Palace Hall." Yi Lian nearly choked on his tea. "Wait, your palace generals let you come?" Both boys shook their heads. "My palace's general didn't know I came." Qilan frowned, thinking this was a bad idea. "Do you even know who I am?" If they were here because they were tricked by Ling Wen, it wouldn't end well for them when they got back. Jilian took a sip of his tea, feeling the moment's weight. With 2 young martial gods by his side, ready or not, the adventure was just kicking off, and he was all in for whatever came next. Nanfeng said, "You're His Royal Highness the Crown Prince." Fu Yao added, "You're the right path for humanity, the heart of the universe." Yilian suddenly asked Nanfeng, "Did he just roll his eyes?" Nanfeng replied, "Yep, let him scram." It was no secret that Nanyang and Xuanzhen didn't get along. Jilian wasn't surprised. Back then, Feng Xin and Mu Qing's relationship wasn't great either. As the crown prince, he had told them to be friends, so they kept it civil, even if they exchanged sharp words when frustrated. Now, things had changed. No one felt the need to pretend anymore. The worshippers from the southeast and southwest still eyed each other with suspicion, and the tension between the Nanyang Palace and Xuanzhen Palace was even worse. Fu Yao smirked and said, "Ling Wen Zhenjun invited you, so why would I just bail?" His tone didn't scream, "voluntary." Xie Lian raised an eyebrow. "Are you 2 really doing this on your own? If not, no need to force yourselves, okay?" They both said, "I willingly volunteered." But Xie Lian could tell they really meant, "I just want to go home." Xie Lian sighed and said, "All right, let's get to the point. You all know why we're in the north, so I won't go over the basics." The others looked puzzled and said, "Nope, no idea." Xie Lian realized he had to start from scratch. So, here goes. A long time ago, on Mount Yujun, there was a couple about to tie the knot. They were super in love. The groom was waiting for the bride's procession, but she was nowhere to be seen. Getting worried, he asked her family only to find out she had already left. 2 households reported a bride missing, but no trace was found. Fast forward a few years and another bride disappears. This time they found a foot on a road. Definitely not a good sign. Creepy, right? What's going on with these weddings?